But we're going to transition this conversation a little bit to some UC Bearcats football. We said it was really only a matter of time before we started discussing them kind of at length here on the show. And I'll be honest, I did not see this coming. Now, I am not as close. I don't follow the team as closely as our guest does here. And we're going to bring him on right now, and that is Hudson Klauke. Did I say that right? Did I butcher the last name? Did I do that all right, Hudson?
It was a slight butcher.
Okay. Klauke. Okay, I was close.
Klauke's good enough, though. No, that's good enough.
Okay, Klauke. Well, Hudson, I appreciate you stopping by, man. Thanks for coming on the show. My first question is this. I know there's some people that have followed the team closely this offseason going into this year, and there was some optimism that they potentially could be a good football team, and they've rattled off all these wins consecutively since the opening loss to Nebraska. And is this something that you expected, or has this kind of caught you by surprise a little bit as well?
I wish I say I expected it, that the Bearcats are ranked and bowl eligible in October. Unfortunately, no, I didn't see it coming. I thought they were better than people gave them credit for. A lot of, the predictive sites and things were putting them, 14th, 13th, 15th in the Big 12. I thought that was a little ridiculous because if we remember last year, they started out the season strong, not as strong as they are right now. And then they just proceeded to lose 5 straight games.
Right.
Then the Cans coach, Coach Satterfield came out, but they still brought back some elite players in a Joe Royer, a Brennan Sorsby, a Corleone. And then it came down to, hey, what are we getting in the portal? It was a lot of unknowns, turned out to be really good players. But having Brennan Sorsby come back gave me faith that this team can actually be good and competitive this year.
And talking about Scott Satterfield, I thought, when they lost Luke Fickell, it was kind of like it almost felt like they were caught off guard a little bit. And they're like, who are we going to bring in here? And they bring in Satterfield, and Satterfield borderline was on the hot seat of his previous job. And I wasn't the biggest fan of the hire. And I think some people in the fan base over the course of the past few years have certainly been banging on Scott Satterfield a little bit, but he deserves a lot of credit for what they've been able to do this year. What is your general thoughts and synopsis of the job that he has done to this point?
He's done great, man. We'll see. We're coming into a juggernaut of a schedule in the back half of this thing, so we will see. We don't want to count our chickens before they hatch here, but he's been phenomenal so far. I know, when we hired him from Louisville, to your point, it's never a good sign when you see all the Louisville fan base commenting, thank God you got him off our hands. Thank God we're done with Satterfield, Mr. 7-5. So I was a little bit worried, and he started out, he won, 8 games in 2 years. And, right now we're sitting at 6-1. So he's probably going to get to his total win of 2 seasons in 1 season here in his 3rd year. Now we'll see how he finishes, but he's done great, man. The offense is a juggernaut. The defense, we could discuss that at a later time, but the offense is fantastic, and he's got weapons all over the place. So you got to give credit to Satterfield.
Let's talk a little bit about the game this week. It's home at Nippert Stadium. The environment should be absolutely unbelievable. And as you mentioned, the schedule kind of transitioning a little bit here. Obviously, the Iowa State game, that's a huge win, but there's some difficult opponents here. Baylor, of course, I think they're a solid team. They're coming off a loss, bit of a shootout there against TCU. Their quarterback, Sawyer Roberton, is really, really good. What are your kind of expectations coming into this game, and maybe some keys to victory for Cincinnati to continue this streak on Saturday at Nippert?
Yeah, I don't think it's any secret. I think it's going to be a shootout. Both defenses are bad. Baylor's defense is actually worse. If you look at any statistical analysis, Baylor's defense is worse than UC. UC's defense is bad in everything, minus scoring. They're only giving up about 19 points a game. Now, they haven't turned the ball over. Sawyer Robertson, for as good as Brennan Sorsby has, just to give you some context, Brennan Sorsby's thrown for 1,700 yards. Sawyer Robertson's thrown for 2,300, almost 2,400 yards. He slings the ball. He threw it over 50 times against TCU last week. I can only anticipate we're going to see more of that. Now, he does turn the ball over, though. He threw 3 picks. Cincinnati has not turned the ball over. They do the bend, don't break, but you got to turn the ball over when you start playing really good teams. And Sawyer Robertson has shown to do that with those 3 picks, like I said. So it's going to come down to turnovers. I think, having 1 interception on the season is not ideal for a college football team that's 6-1. But credit to the defense. They're swarming. They can tackle well. But the 3-3-5 strategy they put out there sometimes, I think it's going to bite them in the ass at some point. We will see. But I think they got to turn Sawyer over, and I think the offense is going to hum either way.
I think for me watching this team this year, I think In years past with Satterfield, they haven't really had guys on the outside that could necessarily win for you in one-on-one situations, in my opinion. And I think that allowed kind of the defenses to stack the box a little bit, stop the run, and that kind of, caused some issues for UC. This year, it seems like they've got guys on the outside that if you want to put them in one-on-one situations, they're going to win, and Sorsby's going to get them the football. Do you think there's any truth into that as far as the receivers go?
Oh, yeah, and it seemed like last year we just didn't have those weapons, like you said, and they started stacking the box. They started following around Joe Royer. He didn't have a great second half of last season, and our receivers were tiny. I think the average height of our receivers last year was like 5'9". Now we got a guy like Jeff Caldwell, 6'5", Cyrus Allen, Caleb Goody, Joe Royer. The list goes on and on. There's a lot of talent out there, and it seems like, pick your poison. Who's going to step up? It's been a new guy almost every week. Cyrus Allen seems like he's the go-to receiver, but we've seen Jeff Caldwell. We've even seen Noah Jennings. I'll be honest, Stone, I didn't even know Noah Jennings existed until he had that one-handed catch against Kansas. So they have way more weapons and more size on the outside, which certainly opens things up, and we've seen that in the running game too, not allowing the defense just to stack the box on us.
Let's talk about Brennan Sorsby here for a second, because he's really blown me away with his performance. And, when you talk about the top quarterbacks in the country, obviously Julian Sayin and Ty Simpson, guys like that are getting a lot of buzz right now. But Sorsby's playing the position at an elite level. Did you expect him to kind of be this good? And what do you think his ceiling is really throughout the rest of the year?
So I did expect him not maybe this good. He threw the ball away a lot last year. He's turning the ball over. That's really when the season, went off the rails. And he's thrown one interception. And that was week 1, the last possession of the game against Nebraska in Arrowhead. It was basically a road game. He's thrown one interception. He's taking care of the football. He's playing elite level, across the board, really. His running game is even better than last year, which I did not expect. But I knew you could see that he's got the formula to be an elite quarterback. Now, you're starting to see the national media talk about Sorsby a little bit. They're throwing him in there, Heisman odds. I think he's like top 15. He should be top 5. If we weren't, Big 12, where the media just hates the Big 12, I think he'd be right in the mix because his stats are right up there with anybody. And I'm getting a little bit worried, though, if he gets too much praise, then he's going to go to the NFL draft. That's what worries me. I think I don't see why. He's got the frame. He's got the size. He's got the running ability. And, the NFL likes quarterbacks that can run now. I am a little bit worried that all of a sudden he's going to get a third-round grade, and this will be his last season at Cincinnati. Selfishly, I'd love him to stay and do another year.
So as it relates to the Big 12, I thought, over the course of the past few weeks, in my opinion, Texas Tech was clearly kind of a step above everybody else. And, of course, they lost last week. And now you look here and you're like, wow, UC has a real chance here in the conference. They could be playing in the conference championship game. As it relates to the conference as a whole, where do you feel you are as far as UC's, realistic chances of perhaps, competing and, getting to the conference championship? Is that a, real possibility for this team?
I think so. I told Trace that a couple weeks ago. I'm like, there's a real possibility. We don't play Texas Tech. I know Texas Tech's a juggernaut. They got a salary cap of the likes of the Cleveland Browns over there at Texas Tech. And we saw them lose. I mean, they're beatable. There's no team that's not beatable for UC on the schedule. Now, playing like at Utah, for example, that's going to be really tough. I think they got a great quarterback over there. But it's wide open. And we're sitting in the driver's seat. If we would have lost, if UCF or something would have stole a game from us, or we would have lost that Kansas game, I'd be, singing a different tune right now. But we're sitting there at 4-0, tied with BYU. That BYU game is going to be a huge game as well. But I think if you win this game against Baylor, and Baylor's capable of beating us, let's make that clear. They're a talented football team. If you win that game and you're 5-0, then we can really start talking about, hey, is this team going to make it to the Big 12 championship? Because I think they'll be in the driver's seat.
BYU, they're ranked 11 now. They haven't lost a game. They've been in some close games. It looks like they've been dead in some games, and then they come back and find a way to win. They got a freshman quarterback in Bachmeier. Are they the real deal, or do you think they're borderline fraudulent here?
Yeah, it's like I want to call them frauds, but I have no proof of it. That's where I'm at with BYU. I just don't have the proof. Like they've won every game. I thought the freshman quarterback, like you mentioned, was going to take them a step back because we anticipated they were going to be really good, and then they had to switch quarterbacks. He left. And so I thought they were going to take a step back, but, I mean, they just kept it going. So They're not frauds yet, but they're on my list. I'm just waiting for that one game where they slip up, and then I will throw the fraud tag on BYU.
Defensively for Cincinnati, it seems like that probably is the weakness because this offense, of course, is so explosive and can score a bunch of points. I mean, you've played UCF and Oklahoma State the past couple of weeks. That's, not really good teams there, I would say. But from a defensive perspective, what are your biggest concerns here going forward? Because Baylor has a good offense, Utah is a good team, and, of course, BYU. And then TCU, your final game. You're really going to find out here what this team is made of as a whole. Defensively, what are your biggest questions here?
They got to get off the field. Like I said, if we're going to do this 3-3-5 defense where you keep everything in front of you, you don't let them get into the end zone. But at some point, if the offense isn't scoring touchdowns, because I can't remember the last time they haven't scored on a drive, the offense. And I think that you can't expect that every single week. So you got to create turnovers. You got to get your defense off the field. I mean, we've seen it in almost every game, the time of possession, and some of that has to do with Sorsby just slinging the ball down the field and scoring quickly. But it's been very lopsided, and I'm talking against bad offenses. I mean, Bowling Green controlled the game from a possession standpoint. UCF with a backup quarterback controlled the possession, and we're talking like 40 minutes to 20 minutes, so it's not even close. The good news is with our defense, there's a lot of depth, so they rotate guys in and out, and you have to when they're playing, 75% of the game. But that's what worries me is being on the field for too long, not letting Sorsby have more opportunities. And then not turning the ball over. Like I said, you got to have more interceptions than one coming into, week 9.
From a prediction standpoint, what are you thinking here? As you mentioned, Baylor very well could beat this UC team. Are you worried about them, getting a little bit too confident, thinking it's going to be too easy, just roll in here at Nippert and get the job done? You got a score prediction for us on how you think this is going to play out?
Yeah, I'll say 45-31. Bearcats take it.
All right.
14 points. Take the spread. I think it's 3.5 right now.
Yeah.
Hammer the Cats. Homecoming too, Stone.
Oh, there we go. So I mean, I mean, some of these environments at Nip, I mean, the place will show out. If you got a good football team, they'll show out for you. And I'm not going to say it's one of the best home field advantages, but that's a fun environment there at Nip. No.
Oh, no, it's great. It's small. Like, if you're looking at Big 12 capacity, it's one of the smaller stadiums in the conference. But they get loud, especially when we're good, man. It's been a while, too. So, trust me, they'll be showing out. The Cincy lights will be flowing on Saturday. I promise you that.